In this episode of Jonathan's World, Jonathan gives you an overview of Tom Swamp in a presentation that he gave to Harvard Forest. He also explains what the heck he's been doing all summer.
So Tom Swamp, it's really wet. It's half, half pond, half bog, and as you can see over here, it's you need a canoe to go through it. And the bog part is really just these islands of sphagnum floating on the pond. And thanks to Google Earth, I could provide this picture. This is an overhead look at Tom Swamp. This is where I had my canoe. These are the islands of sphagnum that I'm working in. And just to give you a reference point, we pulled weeds somewhere over here off the map. And where Kate was working, a big bog that you could walk in is somewhere on this side. So I was working in between those two areas. This is another view of the swamp. You can see a lot of different types of vegetation in this picture. We have lilies, sedges, leatherleaf. This is a blueberry bush, and back here, this patch of trees is actually an island. So some of these islands have trees like maples in them. So now I'll start to tell you a little bit about the predators that exist in this habitat. Sarracenia purpurea, the northern pitcher plant. This is its flower. It's a carnivorous plant. You've heard a lot about it today. And its basic method of capture is pitfall. It's a long-lived plant, and its prey is mostly invertebrate prey. So spiders, ants, and well, we'll get into that. This is how the plant actually looks, and the leaf actually forms a cup-like shape which collects rainwater throughout, which collects rainwater. Inside each of these leaves, there's an inquiline community. Things like yeast, bacteria, mosquito larvae, and when things fall into these leaves, it's the inquiline community that actually does the digestion for the plant. And then the excrement from those animals is actually absorbed by the plant, kind of like spraying Miracle-Gro on your roses or something like that. Drosera, sundews, it's another type of carnivorous plant. It's the red things around here, but if you're red green colorblind like me, you notice the white flowers. Those all come from the sundews. There's at least 2 species out there, and they basically work like sticky traps. Like a fly would come in and get caught in the dew created by this sundew. And they have large density, so in this patch I'd say there's about like 40 or 50 plants. So there's really a lot of them out there. Frogs, another predator out in Tom Swamp. Not much to say, except they're very photogenic. And spiders. You have hunting spiders and orb/web weavers, which they're also found out there, and they're predators. So when I was thinking about all these predators, I was thinking, how are all these species able to coexist? They're all competing for these invertebrate prey. Wouldn't one win in competition and the others die out? And then I realized I'm overwhelming myself because that's way too much work for 1 RU student to do in the summer. So I decided to focus the problem on just the pitcher plants and the spiders. So the question goes from how are these species able to coexist to how are pitcher plants and spiders able to coexist. And there's some niche overlap between them. They both prey on invertebrates, as I've said before, but at least with web-building spiders, they both sit and wait predators. Where the pitcher plants aren't actively looking for their prey, the prey fall in, and the spiders that build webs have to wait for a prey to come and fall into their webs. So I tried to measure niche overlap between these two by measuring the background prey. So the prey availability for spiders in the absence of pitcher plants, and the prey availability for pitcher plants in the absence of spiders. So I did a full factorial experiment where I had pitcher predation allowed in some plots and not allowed in other plots, and spider predation allowed in some plots and not allowed in other plots. So that led to 4 different treatments. The control treatment, both spider predation and pitcher predation, was allowed. In the Sarracenia remove treatment, I plugged up the pitcher plants so that there was only spider predation allowed. In the spiders removed treatment, I took out the spiders by hand, and when I removed both, I plugged up the pitcher plants and also removed the spiders. Pitfall traps. This is how I measured the background prey. There were 5 pitfall traps in each of my plots. My plots were 50 by 50 centimeter quadrats. And they were most of them were on different islands in Tom Swamp. They were collected from the beginning of June to the end of July, twice a week. Pitcher extractions. I would go to the pitcher plants, and because they have the water in their cup like leaves, it's really easy to just extract the contents and see what they've been eating. And this is just me filling up a pitcher plant with water. And plugging the pitchers is a mesh inside of the pitcher plant just to stop the predation from, stop pitcher predation on the invertebrates in the plots that needed that treatment.
If you like what you saw so far, stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be explaining the results and some conclusions that came about from my research. If you like carnivorous plants, music, or anything like that, you should probably subscribe to my channel, because that's what I do. So you can subscribe over there, or leave a comment down there, you know, all types of cool stuff. See ya.